All right, welcome to this explainer. I've been incredibly excited to dive into this one with you all. Look, if you think you already know what yoga is, well, you might want to prepare for a major paradigm shift. Today, we're diving deep into the Hatha Yoga Pradipika. It's a foundational ancient text compiled by the sage yogi Svatmarama. We're going to look way beneath the surface of what you see in modern studios today, and we're going to uncover the hidden, profound truths of this ancient science.
So let me just ask you a quick question to kick things off. When you hear the word yoga, what's the very first thing that pops into your head? Is it a routine for flexibility? Maybe a way to stretch out after a really long day at the desk? Or just a great method to de-stress and stay fit? Okay, let's unpack this because, sure, while it definitely provides all those benefits, viewing Hatha Yoga as merely a physical exercise, it's kind of like looking at a supercomputer and thinking it's just a really expensive paperweight. Swami Satyananda Saraswati actually states it incredibly bluntly. He says, "Today, however, the real purpose of this great science has been forgotten altogether." I mean, wow, that is a massive statement. What it tells us is that the stretching, the sweating, the typical flows you might see on a daily basis, they are completely missing the core intent of the ancient rishis and sages who originally designed all of this. So it begs the question, right? What exactly is this secret that we just forgot?
Which brings us to section 1, the great yoga misconception. You see, a lot of modern practitioners view yoga mainly as physical health, fitness, or maybe therapy, but honestly, that is quite literally just the tip of the iceberg. Down below the surface, the ancient view is focused on things like cellular transmutation, awakening the chakras, and actual cosmic union. The source text explicitly points out that the therapeutic effect of yoga, that's just a byproduct. It's basically an incidental side effect. The real original goal was to prep the physical body for much higher states of consciousness. It's actually this ancient science of transforming gross physical elements into subtle divine energy.
Moving on to section 2, the lineage of masters. To really wrap our heads around how profound this system is, we have to look at the timeline. Because this tradition, it doesn't start with some fitness instructor a few decades ago. No, it traces its origins all the way back to cosmic consciousness itself, which is represented in the Hindu tradition as Lord Shiva or Adinath. Then you fast forward to the 6th century AD and we meet Matsyendranath. He's known as the Lord of the Fish, and he supposedly learned these deep secrets directly from Shiva. After that, his disciple Gorakhnath formalized this wisdom into the Nath sect around the 7th century, and he really stepped in to safeguard and purify this incredibly powerful science to keep it from being lost or completely misunderstood by the rest of society.
Oh, and I actually have to share this fascinating historical anecdote from the text just to give you a real sense of the world we're talking about here. According to legend, Gorakhnath, who, again, was the founder of the Nath sect and one of the absolute greatest masters of this lineage, was actually born from a pile of cow dung. Yeah, you heard that right. No way around it. The story goes that Matsyendranath gave a woman some blessed ash to help her conceive, but she kind of doubted it, right? So she just tossed it into a dung heap. 12 years later, he comes back, calls out to the boy, and this radiant 12-year-old just emerges right out of the pile. Obviously, it's a wild mythical story, but it just perfectly captures that magical, deeply esoteric flavor of the lineage we're dealing with.
All right, section 3, bypassing the mind.
So back in the day, the dominant spiritual paths, think Buddhism, Jainism, and Patanjali's Raja Yoga, they all started with these really strict moral codes and intense mental discipline. Things like nonviolence, truthfulness, celibacy, basically what we know as yama and niyama. But Svatmarma, the sage who compiled the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, he saw a huge, glaring, practical problem with this. Instead of starting with the mind, Hatha Yoga totally flips the script. It starts with the physical body. Specifically, it kicks off with intense bodily purification, which is known as Shatkarma. The text actually highlights this absolutely crucial psychological warning. It asks, why do you fight with the mind first? You have no power to wrestle with the mind, thereby creating a pattern of animosity towards yourself. The masters realize something profound here. If you try to force self-discipline on an unpurified mind, you don't get peace. Actually, scratch that, you get the exact opposite. You just get intense mental conflict. The text even warns that forcing mental discipline way too early can practically split the personality or lead to conditions similar to schizophrenia simply because one part of your mind is constantly at war with the other. So Hatha Yoga's genius. It completely bypasses this whole struggle by working first on your physical biology.
Which brings us to just a brilliant metaphor from the text, the tortoise. Think about it. The goal here is to build a body and a nervous system that is so incredibly strong, so resilient, that it essentially becomes like a tortoise shell. When you're faced with all the heat, the pain, the absolute chaos of the external world, which the text refers to as tapa, you don't just break down or get sick. Instead, your highly trained body allows your senses to safely retract inward. It protects your consciousness while you evolve spiritually, literally just like a tortoise pulling safely into its shell.
This brings us right into section 4, uniting sun and moon. Take a look at this historical illustration straight from the source material. You can see the human body here perfectly balanced between these massive celestial forces of the sun and the moon. And look, this isn't just some cool piece of vintage art to hang on a wall. It is the absolute core energetic philosophy of Hatha Yoga. We are dealing with a highly precise interplay of opposite forces that are flowing right within our own physical and energetic anatomy.
Let's actually break down the word itself, because this is fascinating. Ha represents the sun. That is your prana, your dynamic, vital life force that travels through the right side of the body. Tha, on the other hand, represents the moon. That's chitta, or your mental energy, which travels through the left side. So when you put it together, Hatha Yoga literally translates to the union of the pranic and mental forces. The text explains it like this. When you have way too much mental energy and not enough prana, you get anxiety or mental illness. But if you have too much prana and zero mental focus, you get anger, you get violence. So the entire point of this system is to completely harmonize these two massive internal currents.
Now, to actually pull off this perfect balance, Hatha Yoga demands a very strict physical progression. You can't just jump ahead. Step 1 is Shatkarma. That's the rigorous internal cleansing of the body's mucus, gas, and acidity. Clean the slate first, right? Only once the body is physically purified do you move to step 2, which is Asana. These are the postures we're all so familiar with, and they discipline the body and open up those energy channels. Then you hit step 3, Pranayama, to expand the dimensions of your breath and life force. And finally, step 4, Mudras and Bandhas. These are basically energy locks that direct all this newly awakened power. Like I said, you simply can't skip to the end. It is a profound sequential science of preparation.
And that leads us to our final section, section 5, the ultimate goal. So where is all this intense physical and energetic preparation actually taking us? Well, the true goal of Hatha Yoga is absolutely not a toned core or slightly lower blood pressure. The real esoteric endgame is to awaken the dormant Kundalini energy resting all the way down at the base of your spine. By perfectly balancing those sun and moon energies we talked about, this central channel, called the Sushumna, finally opens up. And when it does, that awakened Kundalini shoots right up this highway, distributing intense energy to 72,000 different circuits in the body, traveling all the way up to the crown of the head. Right there, at the top, the ultimate union occurs between Shiva, which is supreme consciousness, and Shakti, primal energy. This massive, explosive awakening of cosmic consciousness is the true state of Raja Yoga or Samadhi. Essentially, Hatha Yoga is simply the physical stairway you climb to get up there. So, here is the question I really want to leave you with today. Are you ready to use the body to transcend the mind? The next time you step onto a mat, just remember the lineage of the masters, think about the balancing of the sun and moon, and recognize the profound alchemy that's happening right beneath the surface. You're not just stretching out your muscles, you are literally preparing your biology for cosmic evolution. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I genuinely hope this completely transforms how you view the true depths of your own practice. Catch you next time.